I had a really good question in the comment section on one of the videos from Gobi. It said if we connect a 4 ohm woofer in parallel with a 4 ohm tweeter, then what will be the total ohms? It's a really good question. I mean, you could get the idea that it's Ohm's Law, and it sort of is, but we'll get into that. It's a little bit more complex than that, so not fully, because these aren't resistive loads, these are inductive loads, so they have a impedance curve. So so they won't be ending up at 2 ohms like a resistive load with Ohm's Law. Because they have these curves, it will have a sort of like a going down in the middle, where these two meet up. There will be a lower impedance, perhaps only those 2 ohms, and then it will go up. Which is not very desirable. That's too strong of a load. And besides that, it's important that you protect the tweeter. The tweeter here has this. This is show here. It has a lift here in impedance. That's the resistance just going up really high and ending on a pinnacle here, and that is your resonance peak. That one, it's not supposed to be playing. If it plays that, it dies very easily. It can only take like 1 watt or a couple of watts or something like that, and it's dead. So that needs to be avoided. So there needs to be a crossover anyway. And a crossover would do that it increases the resistance on each one in the frequency domain, boom, down, and the same thing for the tweeter, down. And so you would have them bleeding over into one another in impedance as resistance. And that is what evens out the load. So when you have 2 4 ohm drivers in the crossover, you need to make them work together in the frequency domain, but also in the impedance domain, so that you have an even load. If you don't do that, so that you have a big dip between them, it goes down into maybe 3 ohms or something like that, you have something that is a little bit rough on certain amplifiers. Plus, it all of a sudden has too much of a personality. That means that your speaker changes personality depending on how your amplifier is handling that. So that's how you end up with something that works maybe as a DIY speaker for your amplifier, your system, and you set that up, you change all the components until it sounded well, you bring that to a new place, and it works like crap. That will be a reason for that to happen. So I think that pretty much covers it. Of course, there's way more to it on how you even out these loads. But I just wanted to show you the program that I'm sitting with right here, where I can make a plot. There is the blue line here shows the impedance load of the total impedance load of both drivers, and then you have the red one showing the tweeter, and you have the green one showing the woofer. And that's after it's gone through the crossover. You see how it goes up really, really high there, and the same thing for the tweeter, where it would be more flat if there was no crossover. But again, you really have to get a crossover on the tweeter, or else you'll kill it. Yeah. And for the woofer, the reason why we put a crossover on that one is that you have something called breakup. Breakup is when the cone here no longer can stabilize itself. You're simply moving in and out so quickly that it loses control and it starts wobbling across, and the wobbling across creates small phase and out phasings on the surface, making the frequency coming off of it response very uneven, and the sound of it flexing is very harsh and with distortion that you can hear, like it's just very gritty and harsh to listen to. That will be your breakup, and the reason how you can see it in your frequency curve here is that it just starts to get really jagged all of a sudden. As soon as you have like an increase in your sensitivity in the frequency curve, like whoop 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 whoop, like that, that's your breakup, and you need to cut that away. So you need to bring in a crossover to kill that away. So I hope that wasn't too elaborate on that question, but just knowing that you can't just when you have a tweeter and a woofer, you can't just parallel them. That will only be for the time, the frequency span that they're playing the same with the same load of that 4 ohm, that will be the case. So, all right, I think I'm gonna stop there. Please comment down below, ask a question. Take care, guys, and have fun with your projects. Bye.